What's up everybody, John from Old Reading Farm here. Thanks for joining us. In today's video, we're going to talk about how much of a show our emu situation is. If you'll remember in our last video, I finished it with some famous last words. We'll probably check on them throughout the day, but I'm sure they'll be fine. If you don't know what famous last words are, they're things like saying like, you know, you're hooking up a grill in the trunk of your car with just like some rope and you're saying like, that ain't going nowhere. It's definitely falling out. You know, an old guy picking up a log and saying, don't worry, I got it, and then breaking his back, like me and I do on a normal basis. But anyway, so everything is not fine. Everything is actually the opposite of fine. So I'm going to take you into our emus and tell you what I'm talking about, and maybe you all can talk me off the ledge. Okay, so number one in a series of unfortunate events is that currently this emu right here, which is actually the less aggressive female, is just continuing to taunt our male and trying to fight him. So that stinks. Can you knock it off, please, ma'am? So obviously that's not ideal. So to recap the whole situation. So we had 3 adult emus, we had a male and we had 2 females. They were all living peacefully together, getting along, all was good. And then we ended up having babies. But so we had Dad, who is this guy right here behind me, he started sitting on some eggs in the barn here. So that was great. We were super thrilled. He did a great job. He hatched out 5 babies. They were beautiful, and we were concerned because the ladies were showing interest, and we know that, you know, little tiny baby emus outside in the wilderness, along with huge, you know, adult emus is not a good thing, so we took them inside. After all of the eggs hatched and all of the babies were out, we brought the babies inside, like I said, and everything was okay for a little while until we noticed that the 2 female emus were chasing Dad around the pen. And we thought it was maybe just like your normal whatever. Emus like to run, you know. That's why we made this whole pen like a long stretch so they could have like a good amount to run in a straight line without objects or turns being in their way. But it turned out to be like really, really bad. Dad kept running like directly into the fence and he scratched his leg up really bad, and they just kept chasing him day and night. You know, obviously we didn't let it go on that long, but like by the time we were able to get to him, he was hurting, he was bad. And that's why we have this little fence behind me. We segregated Dad in this side. And I mean, honestly guys, like he was close to dying. He was like near the end, like the light was right at the edge of the horizon. I mean, he was like laying down, he wasn't standing up, he wasn't eating, he wasn't drinking, he wasn't doing anything. We cleaned all his wounds out. We put a ton of fly spray because it was just like there were flies everywhere and we didn't want to have any fly strikes. Like I was down here with the hose, I was spraying out his wounds, drying them off. And then we put red coat on him. And you know, after a few weeks, he, you know, we saw him standing up again. He was walking around, he was eating and drinking, he was pooping, which is always a good sign. And it looked like everything was good. And no, so we still had them segregated. So we had the females over here, we had him over here, and it seemed like everything was okay. You know, the females would still come over here every once in a while and, you know, see what was going on with him and peck him a little bit. So, I mean, you know, we were already I was anyway. I was already operating under the assumption that Dad is probably not going to be able to mate with these females ever again, which would obviously be a huge change in our business plan, because our business plan was sell hatching eggs. Can't sell hatching eggs if the male and the female are not mating, because then they won't be fertile. And in case you don't know, emus take 2 years to get to sexual maturity, to where they can actually have fertile eggs, whereas like something like chickens that you can hear and they won't stop crowing in the background, it's like 6 months. And so like, you know, so we had these emus for 2 years, we raised them We hatched them here, and so it was super disappointing when that happened, and it was super disappointing to our business plan. You know, because I'm more of the business guy, and Kat is more of the driver of the bus. But anyway, so that all happened, and we accepted that, and whatever. And then our plan was we were going to bring down the 5 babies, put them in Dad's pen. And before we did that, I went around and I reinstalled, I fixed the electric hot wire that we have all around the top of the fence to just make sure that we were as safe as possible. You know, so this is like I think it's a 6.5 foot tall fence in the back, which is no climb horse fence, which is super sturdy. It's it's attached to posts that are in the ground in concrete, as well as it's Fort Knox up in here. You know, I even added an extra like at least 2 feet of hardware cloth around the whole outside of the barn to make sure nothing's going to dig in and get the babies. We did a ton of prep work to make sure everything was good, and then we brought the babies out here. The first 5 minutes, it was great. Everybody was doing well. You know, it looked good. And then everything went bad. So I came out here maybe like an hour or two after we had first brought them out, and I was on my way to chainsaw carving, which is out in the woods that way. And so I was coming, there's a little path here that goes into the woods. So I came down here on the tractor, and I thought I saw in the female pen one of the babies, and I was like, oh, what is that? Because, you know, sometimes these guys kind of blend into the environment, and every once in a while when we had all 3 adults here, it was sometimes hard to see. Like I would come down, I would only see 2 of them, and I'd be like, what happened? But they were just like laying down or whatever. So I thought maybe my mind was playing tricks on me, but no. I came out here and there were 2 of the babies in this pasture, or this side of the fence, and one of the adult females was in the male pasture, the male section. And Dad got all messed up all over again. He's got a ton of new deep wounds on him, and the female was just hassling him, and she had jumped over the fence and then broke through it, and that's how the 2 babies got out here. And then Dad was then attacking the babies. So it's like the ultimate worst case scenario, right? So not only are the females attacking Dad again, but now Dad is like passing it on to the little babies. And so it's like, what the hell, guys? Come on. Can't you just get it together? But anyway, so now we have the babies. We have them locked up in the barn. So we have like, what is that? I forget what type. It's the same type of fencing we have basically out here to just keep them in there. They have their own water and food. Dad has his own water and food. The females had their own water and food. But then what happened is the next day, I came out here to see one of the female emus dead, just laying on the ground, and it was the more aggressive female. And there's little pools of blood all over the place. So, I mean, like, it's just like the absolute worst case scenario, right? I mean, thank God, like, all the babies are safe. I mean, that's the most important thing, I think. But, like, I'm trying to think of it from a business point of view because, you know, we are a business here. Like, you know, we need to make money. So both Catherine and I are here full time. This is what we do to make a living. If we have stuff that we're just pouring money into, we can't survive. We can't eat. And so, like, this was just like, this whole year has just been kind of a crap show, and it's just like it was looking like this was going to be one sweet spot, but it's not. And you know, I had posted a video a little while ago that was titled, you know, I didn't really want to post this video, and I didn't, because I don't like talking about the bad things. I like for you guys to think that everything is well and everything's good and everybody's happy all the time and stuff like that. But man, farming is hard, raising livestock is hard, and emus are hard. And now it's like, you know, I don't think there's any way now that Dad is going to mate with this female. And then what are we going to do? So now we have to wait a literal year and 8 months for these guys to become mature, but then we have to introduce some genetic diversity here. So it's just like, you know, what are we going to do? I don't know what we're going to do. And I don't like not knowing what to do. I like to at least have a plan, because then that makes me feel secure. When there's no plan, my mind just wanders, and it's like, what are we gonna do? If I have a plan, I can at least quell that. But you know, it really stinks. I'm really disappointed. I'm really sad too, because the emus were a lot of fun, but I just don't know. I don't know how we're gonna continue this. It's gonna be very difficult. But anyway, maybe I'm also just a bad emu farmer. You know, and this could be a lesson in what not to do. You know, we oftentimes post videos on, you know, 7 ways to get started with alpacas and, you know, alpaca best practices, and we even did some videos on emus. But this is clearly like, I am not 100% sure what we did wrong. If there are any emu experts out there who want to weigh in and leave comments down below, please let me know. I'm totally open to suggestion. Everybody makes mistakes, right? You know, there's people in alpaca forums where I look at them and I'm like, what are you doing? Why are you doing that? And so maybe this is just a case of that, and there's somebody out there on the internet who's saying, John, you idiot, I can't believe you did that. Why would you do that, you stupid idiot? Right, and so as long as, maybe you could just frame it nicer than that. But anyway, I think this is really just gonna be like a raw, really unedited thing. I didn't have any plan for what exactly I was gonna talk about, but I think this turned out okay. I hope these emus turn out okay. I mean, like I said, luckily the babies are all fine. But man, it is just tough. And I'm sorry that, again, that you guys have to listen to me just blabber on, just being a talking head out in our emu field or pasture or pen or whatever you want to call it. But I appreciate all y'all's support. It's always nice to have. And I guess we'll talk to you next time.